I speak from here? Okay. Well, I'm indeed honored to talk to all of you. Most of you are very young compared to what I am. I'm plus 60 and I'm seeing here people maybe of the age of 20, 40 years. First, what I've seen in the morning is very impressive. Tremendous enthusiasm from the younger folks, great variety of ideas. And I must say that this is the kind of thing that this country likes to see. And of course, our Prime Minister has been saying this. So very best for all the efforts that you are doing. So I should keep doing this because entrepreneurship is one of the things that this country requires in a very, very big way. Having said this, let me just go back and look at what I have done over the last many, many years. See, I started off as a chemical engineer entering the IIT system, 40 years ago. And of course, went around the world and so on, and then came back to IIT Bombay to teach. Of course, 1970s when I entered IIT Bombay, and 2014 is 40 years plus. A lot has happened in these 40 years. See, 40 years ago, jobs were not too many, and people were just queuing up for jobs, and a lot of discontent among those who had degrees and so on, But today things have really changed completely, in the sense that there are opportunities for people of variety of backgrounds and so on. And what I see in front of what I saw today is that the younger generation is able to quickly look at opportunities and convert the opportunities into various types of businesses. And every morning that you see in newspaper and new ideas coming up as business and so on. But having said this, I am a member of the Science Advisory Council to the Prime Minister's Subcommittee on Water Technologies, and also a member of the Water Resource Ministry of Government of India and so on. A few points I'd like to sort of put across to this very distinguished and very young audience. See, what seems to be happening in this country is that for a variety of reasons, air, water, and soil seem to have suffered a lot, As a result, we seem to live in an environment where things are not in very good shape. Our Prime Minister has been talking about Swachh Bharat, and our young students presented also about Swachh Bharat and so on. But talking is not enough. What is required today is to be able to take this talk to something more tangible in terms of delivery. We have to deliver quality in terms of Swachh Bharat. And how do we do this? And how do people like you and I contribute to this whole effort? Let me just illustrate this in some way. If you look at, for example, solid waste, as an example that Bombay City probably has the largest dumping ground in the world. Okay, and if you go to Devnar, which is one of the largest dumping grounds, it is not in good shape. I'm sure all of you, if you have gone that side, you will realize. Now, what is it that you can think of as young minds? What kind of technologies can you think of so that we can fix this problem? If you go to Devnar, what is it that you see? You see slaughterhouse waste, okay? You see waste that is coming from domestic houses, communities, you have markets, and then, of course, you have huge amount of plastics that come from various places. Now, how do you convert this into a resource? After all, unless you convert this into a resource, it's very difficult to sustain these operations. So you need technology. And more importantly, you need entrepreneurs who bring technology. See, this young lady pointed out about entrepreneurship and so on. Now, here is a great opportunity that all of you can look at to convert this huge problem of a city like Bombay or Delhi or whatever you might say, and Calcutta is much worse because of other reasons. Now, how do we convert this into an opportunity? Let me just give you a small example. Some years ago, I was looking at a very interesting young guy who who said, yes, I have a solution to this problem. What is this problem? He says it's plastics. Mostly nowadays you find most of the stuff that we throw out of the house is plastics. Now, how do you convert plastics into something useful? Now, what happens is that most of the plastics that we discard are plastics that really cannot be recovered for reuse. You'll have to do something with it so that it can be burnt. So this guy had a very bright idea. So what he did is he converted these plastics into diesel. Now, isn't it interesting? And the moment he converts this into a diesel, there are people queuing up to his place to buy that diesel. So this whole question of selling your product has disappeared. Now people are queuing up to him. See, now you would like to know how this guy even thought of a process like this. I mean, if you look back into the literature of science, you'll know that this is nothing new. I mean, it's not that these ideas were not known. These were known, but what was required for an entrepreneur, an intelligent mind, to put whatever science is already known in the form of a technology and bring some amount of money so that this technology can be demonstrated to people who would be willing to purchase that product. What did he do? He took that plastic, shredded the plastic into small pieces, put it inside a tube, you call it a chemical reactor, heated it up to about 400 to 450 C. Moment you do that, many of these plastics tend to degrade, and it can be recombined by an appropriate catalyst. You would have learned about all this in your chemistry. And moment you do that, you can make that products of gasification into various kinds of oils. It can be tailored for diesel, it can be tailored for petrol and so on, or even for furnace oil kind of activity. And this is something that over a period of time this guy perfected it. So today, I mean, he's a small entrepreneur, but he's sitting on a mountain of opportunities, not just in India, around the world. Because the idea works, and he has demonstrated that the idea can be put together in the form of a hardware which can be sold around the world. Okay. This is one simple idea which I saw maybe in the last few years with great potential to transform genuinely what Swachh Bharat, the Prime Minister, says, into something that you and I can see. Now, this is one small idea. The second idea which I thought I must put across to you is, see, what seems to be happening, particularly in the context of Swachh Bharat, is that there isn't much water. I was in Jaipur last week. There isn't much water. Now, what is in abundance, it appears, even in a city like Jaipur and Jodhpur, plenty of wastewater. There's no shortage of, call it sewage, call it industrial wastewaters. There's a lot of wastewaters around, and they don't seem to know what to do with this wastewater. If you go to Singapore, I'm sure some of you have heard about this, the Singapore somehow have convinced the population that we can recycle sewage appropriately treated, which satisfies certain norms as per WHO standards. In other words, in Singapore, this experiment is going on for the last 7-8 years, where treated sewage is actually mixed with water for drinking purposes. Somehow, this has gotten acceptability in Singapore because of the fact that, Singapore brings a lot of its water from Malaysia, and the relationships with Malaysia has not been great for whatever reasons, and therefore some amount of internals, water security they have to build, and they have done this. Of course, it has come at a great cost. It's not cheap. Treating water from sewage to drinking water quality doesn't come cheap. Okay. Now, the technology that you and I require is that this cost, which seems to be X today in Singapore, can we make it X by 10 or X by 100? What is the science and technology that you and I require to make this happen? The answer very simply is that many of these ideas of trying to create wealth from waste, there is an energy cost to it. It costs a lot of energy to do. For example, if you go to southern India, particularly Chennai and other places, a lot of what's called reverse osmosis systems are very common. Now, reverse osmosis, the energy that is required to actually get good water from wastewater, there's considerable amount of energy that is associated with this. And energy doesn't come cheap. There's a cost to energy. Now, what seems to be happening around the world is that the energy cost of treating bad water to good water is very large. Typically in RO, you might be spending up to 10 to 15 rupees per 1,000 liters to get good water from bad water. Now, 10 to 15 rupees is not small. If you look at a city like Bombay, where you have thousands, millions of liters of water to be transported, and that 15 rupees per 1,000 liters is a cost that is not easy to afford for a population. Now, if you can bring this down significantly, particularly in the context of wastewater, then water becomes abundant. Now, today, fortunately, in one of the technologies that has come out of IIT Bombay, we have done this. That means it is actually possible to very significantly reduce the cost at which we can convert wastewater into good quality water, may not be for drinking, into very good quality water at a cost which is about a fraction of what is currently available around the world. Now, having said this, what I'm trying to put across to you is that we need entrepreneurs, people who actually adopt technologies, improve technologies, and take the technology to the market. So this is where entrepreneurship is all about, that you must be able to convert an idea into a business, which is able to generate revenue and therefore create employment and so on. So going further with this, last week when I was in Jaipur, I'm sure this is in other places as well, Jodhpur and Jaipur and many places in Rajasthan as an example, water is coming from a great distance. Therefore, but with wastewater, if you can recover, somehow make it available for various uses, then the population is able to sustain itself at a fraction of the cost, because the energy cost of transporting and giving water is not small. So they are actually planning to adopt our technology because the cost at which we are able to do this is a very small fraction of that they are doing currently. For example, I'm sure all of you know this. See, in a city like Bombay, if you want to take wastewater away from community, you have to put underground pipelines. For every meter of underground pipeline will cost you 30,000-40,000 rupees. But if within the housing society, if you can clean that water and make it available for reuse within the community, then clearly all these massive pipelines at thousands of crores may not be required. Then clearly you need entrepreneurs to be able to convert this into something that people will accept. See, after all, people will accept the fact that you can clean water and make it available for reuse. You see? So this is where entrepreneurship is very important. I saw some great ideas today, but in the context of Swachh Bharat, I would say that we have to go a long way. Prime Minister keeps saying this, we want to see 2nd of October 2015, something tangible should be visible. Yes. And up to now, nothing visible is happening. A lot of talk is going on, nothing visible is happening, and entrepreneurship is a great idea. I'd like to see that something very big happens, and you people have begun very well, and I wish you very best, and anything we can do for you, please come over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.